Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Kuhn. He offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
Yes, and I'm a hiker too, so I love to be on the trails.
Okay, and so today he'll be educating us on his trails of South Hadley. So tell us about the Monadnock Trail through South Hadley.
All right, the Monadnock Metacomet Trail has been around for a long time. It's a trail that follows the mountain peaks from midsection of Connecticut up to going north up to along the line of hills into Massachusetts through Southwick, into Agawam, into West Springfield, in Westfield, in Holyoke, into East Hampton, South Hadley, Granby, and it's a trail that ends up at Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire. So it's a trail that follows a line of mountains that are grouped together. They have many names along the way. The Hanging Hills of Meriden, Mount Tom and Holyoke and South Hadley and Amherst. And this line of mountains has been grouped together in a beautiful trail with a white blaze. I think I've hiked maybe 80 to 90% of it. And it's great to learn about the communities and great to learn about the trails themselves as you go along them. And it's also fun to learn about nature along the way. And of course, it's great just to be out there.
So tell us about the South Hadley Heritage Trail.
Right, this is a trail that I made that groups together 16 historical sites around South Hadley. And it's designed to look like the Boston Freedom Trail, except it's all of South Hadley's heritage put together. And people can follow it on one day if they want to in a car, or they can follow it in little pieces. Go one place one day, and then a month later go to another piece. And it's designed to get as many small pieces of Holyoke put together, and only the most important historical ones. So, for instance, it has the South Hadley Canal on it. It has Mount Holyoke College on it. It has a lot of Woodbridge Street, which is this beautiful historic district. And it groups them all together in a thoughtful manner. I made a brochure that you can look at and see where's the best place to go at what time. A lot of people like the small components of it, and I lead historical tours on those small components. But I never led a one-day bus trip or car trip or walking trip on vast portions of this trail.
Okay, so quickly before we continue with the rest of the interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you are interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214B@yahoo.com. And they are perfect for fun and educational outdoor activities for the whole family, or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they are also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, tell us about trails within the conservation lands of South Hadley.
All right, almost every one of these conservation land has a trail system. Some are small, some are enormous. The Black Stevens between South Hadley High School and Plain School is a well-developed trail system, and you get to see a lot of the terrain changes there, and you can see one old broken breached dam. Another one is a binding conservation land, which is almost 1 square mile, and there you can see 6 natural lakes that are scattered about that area. And that has probably the most trails of all the 19 conservation lands of South Hadley. You have a trail map made and it helps you get around that area. If you don't know it very well, then you can get around. And 5 of the lakes are easy to see from these trails. The biggest lake is not even on the trail system, so you have to bushwhack a bit to get to that one. The other ones, of course, one very, very large one is the Bachelor Brook, Stony Brook Conservation Land, which goes from now Ferry Street over all the way to Route 47, Hadley Street. And you can also get between the two, but also within the two, you could have a nice hike around one of them. And the entrance point on Hadley Street, you have a great hike up a hill, probably only good during dry seasons, June, July, and August, because after that, it gets very wet on the trails very easily. All the smaller ones also have trails for the most part, and you can go onto them to bird watch, for instance, or just watch nature as it goes along. And these conservation lands are all public, all free, and all easy to get to within South Hadley. Of course, the biggest conservation land is the Mount Holyoke Range, which has lots of trails through those, and we'll talk about that next.
So tell us about some of the trails alongside the Mount Holyoke Range.
All right. Besides the Monadnock Metacomic Trail, which goes, it's a peak trail, there's also many side street trails that go up. There's one from Lithia Springs up to the top of Mount Holyoke. There are side trails along the Summer House itself. There's a lot of small trails in from the Amherst side, including the Robert Frost Trail. And there's a Sweet Alice, I believe that's the name of it, from southern Amherst up into what's now called the Notch Trail. And of course, there's a trolley trail, and that was named after where the trolley track was from South Hadley over the peak, what's called the Notch, into Amherst itself. So that's an easy one to take because they used to have a trolley on it, and so it's very flat. And there's a newer one on the southern flank of Bear Mountain that I was able to take. It's going inwards off of Route 116 towards the northwest, and that trail is newly blazed as about 10 years ago, and that's fun to get to the top of Bear Mountain itself. So I hope you get out to these trails. One's historical, one's a long-range trail, and the other one's a set of multiple conservation land trails that are fun to take.
So thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours. We want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can also tune into a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's HolyokeCanalTour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. And thank you for tuning in.